What is up, guys? Good evening. Happy Wednesday. We're back with another live ESPN mock draft. We're going to hang out and do a sleeper mock draft after, so stay tuned for that. ESPN mock will go, roughly 30 minutes, and then we'll switch to our Superflex sleeper mock draft. If you guys want to join that, I did put the link in the comments, so come on and join in. I have that up on the next screen here. I'm picking in pick 12 in that one. So if you guys want to participate, please do. Good evening to Tony, by the way. I'm switching up the layout a little bit, so let me know if you guys are cool with it or not, or if I should go back to normal. It'd be great for any input. But yeah, we're hanging out. We're doing a 12-team ESPN full PPR mock draft. This is my 14th straight Wednesday doing it. So we've already done 1 through 12. Last week I did the number 1 pick. I'm going to do the 6th pick here, and then I'll probably bump back to the later round. But the draft is underway. We're moving and grooving here. I don't really know what I want to do. I think, honestly, being in the middle of the draft this year, I'm totally cool with, if I had to pick, I kind of like being 4, 5, 6. Bijan, Chase, Jefferson, Lamb would have been my guy. Saquon Barkley, pretty good consolation, but for me to just collect Jahmyr Gibbs here at the 106, I think is pretty cool because we can start to poke holes in literally every player behind Jahmyr Gibbs. McCaffrey with the Achilles, Nakua with the Stafford, Malik Neighbors is in and out, Russ Wilson, whatever. We can kind of poke holes in all of these guys here, but let me grab Jahmyr Gibbs to start off the 106, and we're underway, having a good one. And I do want to say, if you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, it'd be a great help if you guys like the video, subscribe if you are new. We're trying to grow, so any little bit helps. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. And hey, check out the fantasyfellowship.com. I just updated all my rankings this week. By the end of the week, I'm going to get all the cheat sheets updated, all the projections, all the cheat sheets, all that good stuff. And there's just a lot of things to look at there. So if you guys want to become a membership, if you need a discount, email me, whatever you need. And hey, we're still looking for one more member. We need one more member in the Fantasy Fellowship Money League. So if you guys are interested in if you're serious, if you want to be in a league for a while and you want to hang out with Tony, and I saw Harris is in here. I don't know if Aiden made it, but we got a handful of guys that watch the show. They're involved. They want to be in a serious league. If you guys want to be in a serious money league, I think it's $30 this year. If you guys are serious about playing fantasy football this year and for future years too, I want you to be in this for the long haul, email me here and I can send you an invite, but serious inquiries only. But hey, we're moving through the first round. I do have a video. I'm starting to listen to, a lot of people are putting out these avoid player videos, and I had my thumbnail queued up on Sunday and I just didn't make the video yet. So I'm kind of digesting what other people are putting out right now. I'm going to get a video out maybe tomorrow, Friday. I want to get a video out just talking about players and situations that I'm personally avoiding. It's week 2 of the preseason. We're going to get a couple more data points this weekend, which is nice. And hopefully you might be drafting this weekend, which is fine. I like to push mine as close to Labor Day as possible, just so we have all the information in front of us. I just missed on Brian Thomas Jr., which would have been sweet with my Jahmyr Gibbs. But guys, Drake London, I think, is one of the best values here in the second round. He's a player that I think is a slam dunk pick. He's going to be getting 8, 9, 10 targets per game from Michael Penix, and really quietly, the wide receiver 5 last year. I know he had the huge week 18 game, which didn't count for fantasy, but for the most part, I know I'm getting double digits. And then I think the 40-point game, we got a 33-point game. It does show that he has the ability to just be a slob in a handful of games each year, just kind of tilt your matchup for you. So I expect him. It's year 4. It's a big contract year, technically. He's got the first round, the fifth year contract stuff going on. But I do think Drake London's a guy that they're going to end up paying, and he's going to want to be around. Drake London, if I can't get Brian Thomas Jr., and I'm taking BTJ and London over A.J. Brown, I think they're right in the same tier as Nico and Amon-Ra. And actually, I almost prefer BTJ and Drake London over both those guys. But I am coming back around to Amon-Ra being a pretty good pick. I don't really like spending my first round pick on Amon-Ra St. Brown. He almost feels too boring. He's too good at just collecting catches. It just feels too boring. We're kind of looking for the next big thing, you know? But shout out to James Cook for getting his 4-year contract. We do feel better about drafting him finally now that he's got – it's August 13th, man. We got 3-4 weeks here until the first week of the year. So it's good to see James Cook being able to practice and, you know, that water is just cleared under the bridge and he can finally kind of let loose here. We're on deck. We got Harris right in front of us here. I'm curious what Harris does. Tony grabs DeVonta. I really don't like the third round of players. I think this is a really interesting round. A lot of weird players here. A lot of quarterbacks. Like the quarterbacks just kind of stack up. And I think if you're in a 1 QB league, man, like it's okay to take one of these guys. I don't really want to pull a lot of these players quite yet. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Lamar Jackson, QB1, to go with Jahmyr Gibbs and Drake London. So I just kind of set up a really well-balanced start for my draft. And it's going to allow me to kind of just continue to take best player available each and every time. Tony grabbed DeVonta. Harris grabbed Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's he's on the poster of my avoid video that I have coming out in the next couple days. So I'm nervous about Tyreek Hill. I think he's got such a wide range of outcomes, and we did start to see his numbers decline last year that it has me completely off. And part of me is just worried about the Miami Dolphins, man. I think Darren Waller's still not practicing with the team is really weird. They don't have a tight end. You have Tyreek Hill, who, I mean, he's kind of going Antonio Brown right now, just some of the things he's doing, and I just don't really trust his game and his age and everything to hold up. So I'm a little bit nervous about Miami Dolphins. I think Devon Achane is going to be getting as much work as possible. You have Jaylen Waddle, who's been often injured throughout his career. I'm kind of getting a little nervous on the Miami Dolphins, man. If things break, and their defense is going to be bad, which, you know, it could translate to better fantasy numbers for the offense. But I am pumping the brakes on Miami right now. Some of the other picks that I really like here in the third round, I mean, I think Trey McBride, you know, getting a top tight end in the third round is fine. I think Kieran is fine. I do like him better as a running back too. And then I think this is a big quarterback round for me. If you're in a 1 QB league, like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, all these guys, it's a clear top 4, you know, because all these guys are going to give you some rushing volume. And then there's Joe Burrow at QB5. But all these guys give you rushing volume. All of these 4 guys have QB1 status in their ceiling. I think it's not a bad round to pull QB. And I always wait for QB in these mock drafts, but I'm kind of coming back around to it. Just the more I do it, and, you know, just I feel really good. You know, it's Monday Night Football. I'm down 24 points, and I got Lamar Jackson going. Let's go. We got this. If I have Jared Goff, you know, we have to watch all 4 quarters and figure that out. If I have CJ Stroud or Jordan Love, or whatever, I'm pretty nervous going into Monday Night Football. But if I have a stud QB, you know, the other person's pretty nervous at that point. So we're starting off round 4 with some bangers here. George Kittle, Amari, and Hampton, both picks that I like quite a bit. I'm going to see if I can snipe someone from Harris and Tony. Who do they like here? I am coming around to I've been a big James Conner guy. I'm kind of out on Breece right now. I think DK Metcalf, he might just be a guy that just has a career year with Aaron Rodgers. It's his best QB that he's ever played with. He's a guy that I think you can force feed in the red zone. You know, if DK Metcalf leads the league in touchdowns this year with 12 touchdowns, are we going to be surprised? I think there's really no other game out there for Rodgers to throw the football to. So I'm starting to like DK Metcalf as like a safety net for me. I don't really like the 4th round price tag of it, but if I kind of close my eyes and I just see at the end of the year, DK Metcalf has caught 78 passes for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. Like that's going to look pretty nice. And yeah, he's going to have some bad games where he goes 3 for 42 or whatever. But I really think he's going to be a guy that just gets a ton of targets. And Harris wanted the Breece Hall. I'm pretty concerned about Breece Hall. In my avoid video coming out, I think I'm avoiding just all New York Jets running backs. Hey, David's in the chat tonight. Haven't seen David in a while. Good evening, man. Glad you're back. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see from you again. 5th round, TreVeyon Henderson. Tony, how's it feel? I got a lot of receivers that I like here. I think this is a big receiver round here in the 5th round. I'm not taking Joe Mixon. I think Calvin Ridley might be a guy that I'm pretty excited about. If you really think about it, man, Calvin Ridley last year, 1,000 yards, 64 catches, 4 touchdowns. Like, he's getting a pretty big upgrade to Cam Ward from the quarterbacks that he played last year with Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, whoever the hell they threw out there. I know he's going to be boom bust. But for the most part here, especially down the stretch, he was a guy that you wanted in your lineup. So I think we're looking at a pretty nice bounce back. I'm nervous about Breece Hall, guys. I think the preseason game has really spooked me. We saw 10 snaps from Justin Fields, right? 5 snaps went to Breece Hall, 3 went to Isaiah Davis, and 2 went to Braylon Allen, which makes me pretty nervous to spend a 4th round pick on a guy that's a 50-50 player. If he's going to get 50% of the snaps every time, and he's probably going to get more at the end of the day, but I do worry about it. I worry about Justin Fields running touchdowns. I worry about it, and just the whole thing with him not really getting in the favor with the new coaching staff and the GM and everything. I worry this could be a weird year for the Jets. So that's kind of why I like looking elsewhere in the 4th round right now. And Breece Hall is falling. I think if we were doing this mock about 2-3 weeks ago, he was a 3rd round pick and I was still interested in it, but I did end up adjusting my numbers and he fell down to like RB 18, 19. And I think I can still beat that. I think I can find some guys that can at least finish top 20 at the running back position a round or 2 later. So I'm a little nervous on Breece Hall. I think when I'm picking in the 4th round, like I want George Kittle on my team. I want Amari and Hampton. I think I'll probably take James Cook a little bit over Breece. I'm fine with Marvin Harrison. I think Chuba Hubbard's one of the bad picks. And Tony, I'm finally all the way there on TreVeyon Henderson. I hate the price. I hate the price so much. We're buying a pass-catching back, but I get it, though. He does have the upside to just take over this backfield and be the lead back over Ramondre Stevenson. I think you're paying for that ceiling with him, but I've hated the price all year long on TreVeyon Henderson, but I finally updated my projections. I did a little data study on the Patriots running backs from 2012 all the way to 2021 when Josh McDaniels was with the team. And I found some interesting things like Josh McDaniels, man, his RB1, his top receiving back averaged 74 targets over that 10-year span, which is pretty nuts. And that's a lot of data to support a potential heavy receiving workload for TreVeyon Henderson. So I think if you play full PPR, Henderson should be on your list. I don't quite know if I need him in half PPR, but we want pass-catching backs. We want explosive backs as well. And it certainly is looking like a guy that I think will provide some value for us this season. I'm on the clock here. I do already have Jahmyr Gibbs. I think if I didn't have Gibbs, I'd be clicking David Montgomery. No problem here. I also, unfortunately, already have Calvin Ridley, and I love Tony Pollard. So those 2 guys for me really stick out as players that I want on my teams. But for me, I don't really see a lot that I like. So I'm going to do what I think is probably a better pick than TreVeyon Henderson at ADP. I'm going to go RJ Harvey. He's a guy that I think is going to be better than J.K. Dobbins. He's a guy that I think can catch a lot of passes. He's a guy that I think can, he can lead the Denver Broncos in rushing attempts. And for me to get him as my RB2, I know I'm going to probably just have to be patient and wait for him to kind of get entrenched in this offense. But it's Sean Payton's running backs catch passes. They spent a 2nd round draft capital on RJ Harvey. I think for me, RJ Harvey in the 6th round is a little bit more clickable than TreVeyon Henderson in the 5th round. David's trying to upgrade at running back. Which receiver should I trade? JSN, Marvin Harrison, DeVonta Smith, Nico Collins, Ted McMillan. Oh my God. I mean, I think the easy one is just to say Zay Flowers. He's probably the lowest on the totem pole here. So if you can flip Zay Flowers for a receiving back, I think that's the most likely scenario. If this is a redraft league and not a dynasty league, I think you'd be able to find someone decent for Zay Flowers. But I really want to hold on to all those receivers. You might be better off just waiting until the season unfolds a little bit and see where it takes you. But I'm on the clock here. I got about 10 seconds to do the job. I'm just going to get my tight end one here. It's round 7. I don't want to really spend a round 7 pick on a tight end, but I got the Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson stack, so I do feel good about that. Yeah, in the preseason usage, I know preseason it's tough to really get away and take away things from preseason, but I've been kind of off Chuba Hubbard. I don't know if I've clicked him once in all of my 100 best ball drafts. Rico Dowdle's a good back, man. He's a better pass-catching back than Chuba Hubbard, too. All of Chuba's rushing numbers look fine, but he's not a good receiving back, and they want to mix those guys in, and that's what they showed us in their couple drives this last preseason weekend. So I think Hubbard's fine, but you're kind of buying a 1A guy at a starter prices, which is not good. Yeah. And hey, good evening to Lee. Yeah, and I'll tell you, Lee, man, like – you can go back to June, man. I've been buying Ramondre Stevenson at these prices all season long, because if it truly is like a Detroit Lions backfield and you get Ramondre Stevenson, maybe Stevenson gets up to 14, 15 carries per game. Maybe he's the goal line banger. Maybe he's catching a pass or two per game. We're kind of getting a poor man's David Montgomery. And Aiden watches the show. Aiden goes to Patriots preseason games. Aiden has seen things that we haven't seen. And it sure sounds like the fan base doesn't like Ramondre Stevenson, which if he gets traded to Dallas or something, cool. I would gladly accept that. I still think Ramondre Stevenson's got some juice left in his career. And I just think the price is at cost. Give me Ramondre over Travion Henderson at cost all day. But I will say we're about 8th round here now, guys. I mentioned it to Harris. If you guys, we're just going to open it up for questions. We're mock drafting. We're having fun. But if you guys have any questions, please start to fire them away in the chat. I'll get to them as they come in. But any fantasy questions you guys have, I want to start going through them and giving you guys as much info as I possibly can. Guys, is it finally the year of Jaylen Warren? Am I finally going to be right taking the Steelers running back 1? Like, the other thing, Lee, is I think what Jaylen Warren's going to be this year, people want Travion Henderson to be Jaylen Warren already. And I can get Travion Henderson's profile in the 8th round with Jaylen Warren. So I love that pick, Jaylen Warren, 8th round. He's a guy that I think he's going to be the starting running back for the Steelers, man. And I just think when push comes to shove, Aaron Rodgers is out there on 3rd and 6. Like, you best bet Jaylen Warren's out there catching passes and doing a lot of the dirty work for the Steelers. So I'm pretty much all in on Jaylen Warren at these prices. And yeah, I agree, Lee. I've really struggled with the Travion, and it's hurting my feelings because I've hated the profile all summer, and it's just getting louder and louder. And we're up to the 5th round now, man. Yeah, if you have 2 QBs in a 1 QB league, man, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to drop QB2. I think Penix is just waiver wire fodder at this point. So I would be fine doing that. I do have a pick to make here. Look at Keenan Allen's ADP. My goodness. Austin Eckler, I do like quite a bit. I don't really know about these receivers, man. Emeka Egbuka is still too low on these ESPN rankings. They just updated him, and he's still in the 100s, man. In best ball on DraftKings and drafters right now, he's a 6th round pick. So if you can take away one thing from tonight's video, man, and you're drafting this weekend, get yourself some Egbuka shares before he skyrockets. Because, man, if he goes out this weekend and catches 4 for 40 and a touchdown, like, it's over. Addison and what for DeVonta Smith in Dynasty? Guy wants a future first. Addison and I would say Addison and DeVonta Smith are pretty equal in terms of Dynasty. If he wants a future first, I think he's smoking something. for DeVonta Smith, the future first, I would say a high second round pick would do best. If you're going to send him Jordan Addison, I mean, to me, I think that's pretty fair straight up. At that point, I'm going to send Addison and maybe like a backup running back that I would cut. But man, if he's pricing DeVonta Smith at future first round value, I would need more in return for that. So I don't know if you have a good trade partner there, Mr. Lee. Yeah, I think the Bills gave a really good chunk of money to James Cook, man. This is a good question, Harris. I think we are kind of back into the mix with James Cook, and the Bills know, like, if Josh Allen's on the field, like, he's their best player. But after that, who is the Bills' best player? It's been James Cook for the last couple of seasons, and they finally had to suck up and pay for that. So I'm finally happy that that James Cook did get paid. It just took so dang long. But hey, we're up to pick here. I do have a bench receiver, a bench running back. I'm going to continue to kind of nickel and dime here and take some good players that I feel good about. I'm just going to slap on Austin Eckler. I think he's going to be heavily involved in the offense in Washington again and be one of their leading pass receivers. I don't have a lot of faith in their running game, but I do have a lot of faith in Austin Eckler still giving us some good fantasy usage as a running back 2-3 flex. But back to the Bills, man. I did read the other day that Ray Davis has lost some weight. He's trying to be slimmer, trimmer, quicker, all that good stuff. I think Ray Davis is going to get a little bit more touches, and I do expect James Cook's touchdowns to come down. I think he was RB8 last year. So, I mean, round 4, I think I'm taking James Cook over Breece Hall all day in the 4th round. I want to be attached to that offense more than I do the Jets offense. So I think if you want to pencil in James Cook as your running back 2 in the 4th round, I think it's fine. You don't need to handcuff him with Ray Davis either. I think handcuffing your running backs is not something that I'm super into. I think I'm ready to put the grave. I'm ready to put Judkins in the grave. I think he's a guy that's probably not even going to play football this year. He's missed everything from the training camp perspective. And how are you going to trust the guy here? In practices and things like that? It's got legal issues. I think it's a pretty ugly bet for him to be ready to play any significant football in the next month or two. And maybe he figures it out and he gets going. I'm not clicking on him here. I'm looking for a wide receiver here, and I can't find one. I'm going to get auto-picked. Oh, my goodness. I got auto-picked Rachaad White. So not happy about that. I think Rachaad White's a terrible pick, but what are you going to do? I effed up. I don't know about 90. I mean, when you pay a guy, you want him to stay healthy too, Lee. You want to make sure that he's going to be there for the entirety of that 4-year contract. So 90%, I would be – there's not one player that's going to get 90% of the carries in the NFL this year. So maybe it's a 70-30 split. But I need to focus real quick here. I need to find my next pick so I don't get Rachaad Whited again one more time because that was embarrassing. I would have taken Tyler Warren probably. He was the guy that flashed for me when I was rifling through the picks as my tight end 2. But dang it, I absolutely whiffed on that. I think Jaden Blue, Najee Harris, Jalen Wright, Bashal Tutin, these are all fun players to put on my bench. I do want a little bit more power at the receiver position, but I'm not really seeing much of anything that I like yet. Go back to running backs. Aiden, I'm going to take Bashal Tutin, man. I want to stash him and see what happens here. Now that I think is interesting. If you were to send a high 2 plus Addison for DeVonta, if you have to drop the 3rd to make it happen, I think I'm fine with that, Lee. Accidentally drafted Jaylen Warren. You accidentally did one of my favorite things to do in a draft. So hopefully we're good, random posts. Yeah, on paper, Addison plus a high 2 for DeVonta in a back end 3rd. That's perfect. Like, that's like the correct value. Unfortunately, what I've learned through my years of Dynasty is nobody ever wants to do a fair trade. They only want to win the trade. What I have found is, especially when I'm making trades with like sharp people, we get to a point where it feels like we're both losing, and then we know the deal is good, which is kind of funny how we do that. I'm going to go ahead and reach on a receiver here, Demario Douglas. I just want a piece of that Patriots passing offense. I think he's an interesting player. Tyler Allgeier, to me, is not a player that I'm going to draft. You can draft him in best ball, but in redraft, he's only valuable if Bijan Robinson gets hurt, which to me, he could be sitting on your bench the whole year, man, and you're just wasting his spot. I'd rather take an upside pick on a rookie or someone else that in the first 1, 2, 3 weeks, if he gets called up to action and all of a sudden we got something, I can either keep him or I can move on right away. Whereas Allgeier, he only is a good pick if Bijan gets hurt early. Otherwise, you're kind of burning a roster spot all year. I'd rather keep that spot for someone that can show me what they're going to be early. Yeah, and the James Cook price is probably just going to continue to rise. I think by Labor Day weekend, you're probably going to see James Cook. He's already had a Breece Hall, but you're probably going to see James Cook up here with Kamara and maybe all the way up to Kieran Williams, which is where he was before all this stuff started. Now, I do have one more bench spot left. This is kind of like one of those spots where, I could take a guy and see how it goes. The first week or two, it's usually a running back for me that I want at the end of my bench. I'm just gonna click on Rico Dowdle because I talked about not being in on Chuba Hubbard. I think Rico Dowdle he's got base work in the offense where he's gonna get 7-10 touches per game, whether it's 5 carries, 2 catches, something like that. I think he's got value every week, and if something does happen to Chuba, then we're kind of lights out. This is a great question, David. I think, dude, I moved up both Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson into the top 30, 36 of my running back projections. These are the guys that I'm looking for in the double-digit rounds. Take a chance on a Cleveland Browns running back. I think Jerome Ford's going to start week 1. I think Dylan Sampson's going to get work early, and he's one of those guys like, yeah, give me Dylan Sampson over Tyler Allgeier. Why am I hoarding a handcuff in Allgeier when I can get a rookie Dylan Sampson who might just be the best running back on the team, and all of a sudden he's getting 15 touches by October, So I want Dylan Sampson on my team for his cost. I think he's one of those really nice lottery tickets that could just be a guy that just continues to impress and gets more and more work. Otherwise, if Dylan Sampson's just okay and they're going to keep Jerome Ford out there, like Ford's going to catch passes. Ford actually ranked as one of my best running backs in my data study last year. I think Jerome Ford's a fine, capable back. That's kind of my thought too, Lee, is, when push comes to shove and you got to make a high priority waiver wire pick, like if Allgeier is getting 4 carries a game, and you're just holding on to hope that, Bijan, it's basically, I don't want to really hoard handcuffs. I think handcuffs are more for when you're in season and players start to become injured and things like that start to happen. And then I like to kind of start stashing some handcuffs, especially late towards November and December. Yeah, we can, I do want to shout out real quick too. We have only a few guys here in the sleeper mock draft. I just finished the ESPN draft, but if you guys want to draft with us here, we're doing a Superflex sleeper mock draft. There's the link. Go ahead and get in there. I'm going to review some of the teams here as Tony asked, and we'll see how I like it. I'm going to look at my team real quick here. I have a well-balanced team, man. We started off the draft with Jahmyr Gibbs. I get my wide receiver 1, Drake London. I get my QB 1, Lamar Jackson. So I have legit 3 chances at the number 1 overall player at each position there. I do think Drake London could lead the league in targets this year. So I like the start. I'm not a big fan of DK Metcalf and Calvin Ridley combined. I think they're going to be very boom bust, but the odds are one of those guys has a 20-point game each week for me. Who matters? Who is it? I don't care as long as one of it happens. And then we got RJ Harvey with Jaylen Warren kind of competing there as my RB2, which I'm fine with. Maybe I even start Jaylen Warren week 1 over RJ Harvey to see how that Denver backfield looks. I got the Lamar and Mark Andrews stack, which feels good. And then I really like the bench. Emeka Egbuka, we'll wait and see. He might even be startable week 1, just if Godwin's not out there. Eckler's old reliable. Rashad White's a bum. I wish I had that pick back. Tootin, he is the pure lottery ticket. I'll be patient with you pick. Demario Douglas, PPR, 10 points a game. Rico Dowdle, a guy that's got base work and handcuff kind of all rolled into one, and then whatever down there. Let's take a look at Tony's team. Tony grabs Jordan Love, who he's got the weird ligament thing on his left hand. I'm not too worried about it. I do think he has top 10 potential this season, and that's been one of the strategies we've been doing all summer long, is waiting for QB1, and I think I'm fine with that. Your running backs are Bucky, Travion Henderson, the RB3 spot, Jordan Mason, Jaden Blue, Jalen Wright, and Blake Corum. So we have a deep stash of running backs here. I almost wish we just had maybe one more guy that can compete with Travion Henderson for the RB2 spot. I think Mason's going to be a good pick, and we got to see how the season starts. And he might be a guy that we just want to leave in our RB2 spot every week at some point. But I'm wondering if we if you're going to draft Travion Henderson, I almost wish you had just one more guy that you could be deciding on weekly if it makes sense. The receivers look great though. CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams. We'll see about Rashee Rice. I don't know if he's going to get suspended right now. If he doesn't get suspended, yeah, he's a great pick right there. And even if he gets suspended 4 games, he's still going to be a valuable pick for you later. You can pull up Jacoby Myers, Ricky Pearsall. So your receiver depth is pretty strong. And then you're going to be babysitting Trey Harris here to see how he looks. So I think this is a good constructed team. Evan Ingram, he could be 80, 90 catches this year. So I like this team. My only thought is, hey, we have these high expectations for Travion Henderson. I'm wondering, if we were to swap out Jacoby Myers for a running back in that range, I just wonder if I would feel better about this team. But it is a good team. You have a ton of depth and a ton of potential lottery tickets at the end. Harris goes with Caleb Williams. So this has been a trend for Harris. He's been waiting to take quarterbacks. I've noticed it in a lot of drafts the last few weeks, and he winds up with Caleb Williams. Running backs are Saquon Barkley and Breece Hall. We talk about positional advantage for certain players and positions. I do think Breece Hall looks really good as your running back too. So I am happy with that. Tyreek Hill, I mentioned about him earlier, wide receiver 1. I'm a little concerned about that. I think Tyreek, DeVonta, Rome Odunze, you have good receivers. You don't have great receivers. If any of these guys become great, we're going to need A.J. Brown to get hurt, or Rome Odunze, maybe he just blossoms. I still think Odunze is a good pick, but I do like that you backed it up. You have Cooper Kupp, Jaden Reed, Cedric Tillman, Rashad Bateman. You have some well-known commodities. So for you to kind of wait on receiver, I think you did a good job adding some receiver depth here to, maybe fill the gaps if you need a week or 2 here for some guys. Brock Bowers, tight end 1, fantastic. Good depth here, man. You did get Dylan Sampson. You got your Bryant Robinson. You got Braylon Allen. This is a good-looking team, Harris. And if the Caleb Rome Odunze stuff hits, we're on one. Yeah, random. We're doing another mock here. We got Harris, David. I can't remember who RD's Nuts is. I think that's Mr. Magic. Honey's Dynasty, I think, is a new name here. But if anyone wants to join this, we'll start this up in a second. Let's talk about Woody Marks real quick. Now, I think Woody Marks is an interesting guy. I don't think he's ever going to be like an every down player for the Texans. This is kind of what I'm expecting. I don't think Joe Mixon's going to be out there week 1. I think you're going to see Dameon Pierce lead the team in carries week 1. We're going to see what Nick Chubb can do week 1. Probably not going to be great. You're going to see Woody Marks mixed in there on third downs. The issue for Woody Marks, though, is Dare Ogunbowale does the same things that he does well. Woody Marks is a really good third down pass catching back, 2-minute drill kind of guy. For me, he's not really someone I'm drafting in redraft. He's a best ball target. I've been targeting Dameon Pierce a lot the last couple of weeks. I think he's better than Nick Chubb at this point of his career. Joe Mixon's hurt. I think we could get some hidden value there in Dameon Pierce. So he's the guy that I want from the Texans backfield. If I have to pick one, if I have to hold my nose and pick one, he's kind of the guy. Whereas Woody Marks, there's a pecking order here, Harris. They're going to go Joe Mixon. They're going to give Nick Chubb some time. They're going to give Dameon Pierce the time. Maybe by November, December, it's Woody Marks time. Maybe. But it kind of just goes along one of those guys that you have to be very, very patient for. And once we get more Joe Mixon news out there, I think if he's out significant amount of time, I might be more interested. But for right now, I'm kind of out on all Texans running backs. That's a good point there, Lee. I think the Kieran Williams contract, it was kind of unexpected, really. I'm glad they paid Kieran. I mean, he was a 6th round pick, 5th round pick a couple years ago. So that's a huge accomplishment for him to get a contract done and not have to go into these negotiations and things like that. So I want to shout out the Rams for doing a real good thing to a real good person, a real good player. Whereas the Bills, they had to pay up, and the James Cook got a ton of guaranteed money. So that was nice to see as well. Good evening to Mr. Magic. Who's better at value, Cook or Hampton? So Hampton has that just secret upside mystery boxness to him that is very exciting. We know Najee Harris is just a backup level running back. We don't think Najee's going to come in here and get 15 touches in this offense. I think the 15 touches are going to Amari and Hampton. I think Hampton might be the better player. We like Justin Herbert's offense. I like John Harbaugh leading the way. I'm kind of leaning towards Amari and Hampton being the better pick because, one, I think he's the better talent. I think if Najee is who I think he is, he's going to just get the backup carries and the backup touches, whereas Hampton's going to be the guy catching all the passes. Honestly, for as good of a pass catcher James Cook is, they don't really feature him in the passing game as much as they should. And if Ray Davis is getting more work, I think I'm going to lean with Hampton having the better potential. The only way James Cook beats us with Hampton is if he runs hot on touchdowns again. So we'll see. All right, we got a lot of questions in here, but hey, if everyone's good to go, I'm going to start the mock draft here. We've been kind of parked here. We got about half the people in here. 12-team Superflex mock here on Sleeper. Keep putting your questions in, guys. I think going forward Wednesday nights, Harris, we're just going to continue to just ask questions. Let me know what's going on. If you guys have serious questions, you guys want to talk about things later, you guys can always hit me up on Twitter at @TheFellowKGB, and we'll figure that out. And hey, if you want to join a serious fantasy league, we got a lot of guys in here. I think Harris, I think Tony, a lot of guys that watch the show. I have a serious fantasy league that we're putting $30 on. So it's not too much, but it's enough for you to maintain interest and to be engaged and things like that. But I do have a listener league. If you want to participate in the listener league, we're drafting, I think, on the day after Labor Day, Tuesday, whatever, September Tuesday that is. If you want to participate and you're going to be serious and you're going to stick around a while, email me at thefellowkgb@gmail.com. Let me see where was I? Eastern Australia, boys. The Fantasy Fellowship is worldwide. I appreciate you guys all. We got 13 people in the chat right now. I'm just a guy that makes videos randomly on a Wednesday night. So I'm honored for people to be tuned in, and from as far as Australia, man, that's pretty cool. So shout out to Lee. Hope you're doing well, my man. Need a vet starting running back like Kamara. I'm actually going to be, I missed my pick completely, guys. I grabbed Ashton Genty here just out of panic mode here. I think I'm still in on Genty. I am a little nervous about the Raiders just not being good. I don't want to be the guy that takes Pat Mahomes here, though, because I think Pat Mahomes, man, like we've seen it the last few years. We're just not really getting that ceiling that we want. So I'm going to go with Genty and Brian Thomas Jr. at the 1-2 turn to start my day. And hey, good evening to Ryan. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Braylon Allen looks like a guy that could be a factor at some point this season. But we talked about it earlier, Mr. Magic. I'm pretty concerned about what the Jets showed us against the Packers the other night. And they've been kind of saying it all season long. Like, they want to use all these backs. We had 10 snaps for the starting running backs last week. We saw 5 snaps for Breece, 3 for Isaiah Davis, and only 2 for Braylon. So how that disperses throughout a whole game remains to be seen. But I think it's going to be pretty frustrating for fantasy this year. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to think about, how do I want to attack each NFL team? At the moment right now, I think if I want a New York Jet, it's probably just Justin Fields. And Ryan is absolutely right. Fantasy, it's finally here, man. I got people drafting this weekend. I got people coming out of the woodwork texting me, I got this pick, what should I do? We're back, guys. It feels so good. I do want to believe in Breece Hall as well. But if I'm in a 1 QB league, man, like, that's where Breece is going, man. I like some of the other players just a little bit more, and I have a stronger feeling. But, hey, I'm up to pick again. We got Breece Hall staring at me here. I got Justin Herbert, who's one of my guys that I do feel pretty good about at the QB position. I'm going to play it a little empty, though. I think George Kittle might be – I think he could just be the best freaking guy at tight end this year. He is going to be the offense. McCaffrey, Kittle, Purdy, repeat. And then I'm gonna take that upside swing here on Amari and Hampton. And it's 2 QB. I got a lot of teams here not taking 2 QBs. My bad. I did post it earlier. Can you talk about Isaiah Likely? Isaiah Likely's not really a guy that I want on my redraft team, Harris. He's going to be behind the ball. He's going to be coming up slow. Maybe by October, he's a guy that's starting to get mixed back in. But you gotta look at it. You got Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. Maybe Likely is the 4th best target on a given Sunday. I don't know if I'm ready to say Likely is gonna, hop Rashad or Zay. Like, Likely is literally just a backup. He's a handcuffed tight end at this point. If Mark Andrews is hurt, then we all want Likely on our team. But until that happens, I'm not going to be hoarding Isaiah Likely. I think for best ball, I'm fine with it, but for redraft, I'm not doing it. I personally, I want to see more of Ray Davis, because we saw a little bit of glimpses last year that looked really, really good when Cook was out, and Ray Davis could be a good guy. I mean, I don't think it's close, man. Tom Brady changed the NFL with how good he was. It was pretty unprecedented too at the time. I think, Nikola Jokic, you also have Giannis, you have these guys that can kind of change a franchise and have won a title or two. But we're talking about Tom Brady, who's probably going to go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. So this is a fun question though, Harris. I got to go Tom Brady. I'm sorry, Lee. I did post it at the top I'm sorry. There's so many comments. This is how I'm operating with the New York Giants. And hey, I just want to shout out, go Brewers right now. The Brewers, they just won 12 games in a row. And the entire city of Milwaukee is getting free George Webb burgers. So it was a big deal today. 12 wins in a row. I'll get to the Russ Wilson question shortly here. I'm just going to collect some freaking dudes here at the quarterback position. I'm going to grab Trevor Lawrence to go with my BTJ. And then, I'll see what Justin Fields got. I'll see what he's got, QB2. Russ Wilson, this is how I've been operating, Harris. It does look like Jackson Dart can play. It looks like he's going to be a guy that they're going to want to see what he can do this season. The Giants have a tough schedule. I don't expect them to play good football. I expect them to be competitive, but we might be looking at, Russell Wilson 3-7, 4-6 maybe. And at that point, maybe we see Jackson Dart out there by weeks 11, 12, 13. We could get this, just my projections right now. I have like a 4 to 5 game sample for Jackson Dart. I have Jameis Winston maybe getting 2 games. I have Russell Wilson probably in that 10, 11, 12 game situation. And who knows, maybe they are competitive. Maybe they're 6-6, and you know, as long as they're within shouting distance of the playoffs, we're going to see Russ continue to play. But my bet is at least seeing Jackson Dart for 3 or 4 games at some point. I'm sorry, Lee. I did post it. I posted the Superflex link right there. It's always, so I always have to post the ESPN link first. But I did post it, so I hope you're not too mad. But Lee, we do this every Wednesday night, my man. Wednesday, and I don't know what time zone Australia is in, but 7 p.m. Central Time here in the States. And we do the ESPN mock, and then we move into the sleeper mock draft, which we've been doing Superflex lately. I think if you guys want to continue to do Superflex drafts, that's cool with me. Mr. Random Post, he's got Caleb and Drake May, Hendo, Hampton, Warren, Benson, Mason. That's great. BTJ, JS. You got the trio of initials there. Warren's my team. I have no good backup RBs. Trade advice. I think you're fine. You know, you're going to start Hampton and probably Jaylen Warren week 1. Henderson in the bench, just see what he can do. I think Jordan Mason's going to be a guy, if, you know, in an emergency pinch, you can always start Jordan Mason and feel pretty good about it. But I don't think you need to make any moves, man. I think you just need to let the season unfold. I think you got a lot of playmakers on your team that I feel very, very good about. And let's see what happens. I just doubled down on the 49ers here with Ricky Tricky Pearsall. I don't know if I feel great about Ricky Pearsall, but I threw him in there. We'll grab Calvin Ridley here as well. I did want to grab a quarterback there, but nobody's grabbing quarterbacks right now. Yeah, I think you chill, Mr. Random Post. You have 4 great receivers. I like the youth and the potential in your running back room. I think if this is just a 1 QB league, man, Caleb and Drake May, you'll figure it out. Tyler Warren, tight end 1. I think you hold tight. If you need to package a receiver to get an upgrade at running back, maybe you can do that. But I think let's let it run its course and see how it looks before we do it. And Lee, you are in, my man. If you're and I've been advertising this for the last week or so. So if your email is indeed there, you are in the Fellowship Money League. Kamara over Cook and Hall. I do think I can be on track with that. I have Kamara over both of them in my projection, so I'm definitely on board with it. For some reason, I don't like clicking Kamara. It just doesn't feel great. It's probably going to be a good pick by the end of it. For some reason, I just usually don't get a lot of Kamara. Cam Scatterbo is probably a guy that I almost see this year just kind of being a lost year for him. He's already behind the 8 ball. He hurt his hamstring, goes back to practice too early, re-aggravates it. He's going to miss pretty much all of training camp. No preseason work for Scatterbo. You have Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, who they do feel good about. I think at this point, Scatterbo is the clear RB3, and he might not even be ready for week 1. It's hard to say. I think at this point, it's probably best to leave him on the waiver wire. I'm not going to hold a spot on Scatterbo. I think he needs a few events to happen for him to get thrust into the action. So he's probably a guy that we're not going to get an answer on him real quick. So I'm looking elsewhere. I'm sorry. You probably needed to highlight it and paste it into the URL spot there, Lee. QB3 for me, maybe. I need more wide receiver help here. I'm gonna grab Stephon Diggs, who I think is pretty exciting. And Jaylen Warren. I'm a crack whore for Jaylen Warren. Jerry Jeudy. All right, you got nothing to lose in Cleveland. They're going to throw the ball a ton. They're not going to be able to run the ball very well. I do think Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson are going to be a solid and interesting duo, but you got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Shedeur, Dylan Gabriel. This team last year led the league in passing attempts. And I know a lot of that was with Jameis Winston and some of the other guys they had there. But it's not a sexy pick by any means, Harris. But I think by the end of the year, if you look up and you see Jerry Jeudy with 125 to 130 targets, he ended up with 74 catches, flirted with 1,000 yards. I think by the end of the year, you're going to be like, yeah, I left Jerry Jeudy in as my wide receiver 3 flex the whole year. So he's not a guy that feels great to pick, but he's a guy that I think will be productive enough to be in our starting lineups all year. Oh, Derrick Henry. D. Hen. I assumed, I don't know why I assumed Henderson here. Yeah, you're fine, man. You got Hampton and Jaylen Warren, random post. You're freaking set. Man, I don't know if anyone has seen the news, but so I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we just had the biggest rain storm that we've almost ever had. It rained about a month and a half's worth of rain in one night, and Milwaukee flooded. So I bought a house a couple years ago. Last April I did, but the apartment that I lived at, which is just a block over, that apartment, everything flooded, dude. It's pretty serious. So there's a lot of bad stuff. I hate Mother Nature sometimes, man. So hopefully everything's okay, Lee. And hey, it's not bad to be locked into the house sometimes. I'm on the board here. Y'all really gonna give me the lottery ticket that is Anthony Richardson? I'll continue to take Anthony Richardson as my QB3 in a super flex draft. I think that's pretty silly. I do need more receivers. I'm not quite seeing one that I want to pounce on. Let me rotate back to running back here. Dobbins, maybe. I'm going to keep taking my Austin Eckler. I'm just going to keep taking my Austin Eckler. Yeah, PPR Kamara. If you can get him in your RB2 spot, that's probably a cheat code. Is that Reed? I'm assuming Jaden Reed. Is that Reed or an unstacked Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray doesn't necessarily need to be stacked, because really the only guys you can stack Murray with are Marvin Harrison or Trey McBride. But if you get Kyler Murray, he's still got those spike weeks where he could run for 2 touchdowns on his own, and I think it's fine. If you have Jaden Reed, I guess my question would be, do you already have Minnesota Vikings on your team? Are you game stacking Vikings and Green Bay Packers here? There's a lot of variables here. I think in the end, I usually don't like to pick Kyler Murray there. So it's probably a better receiver depth spot. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I think we're there at this point of the season. You have Jaden Reed in a walking boot. You have Romeo Doubs leaving practice early yesterday. Christian Watson's going to be on the PUP list to start the year. Dontavian Wicks has been kind of battling injuries throughout training camp right now. The few snaps that we did see with the first team offense last week, we saw Matthew Golden break free for a slant. We saw Matthew Golden go up against Sauce Gardner a couple times. He drew a pass interference on one, and then I think there was, maybe the other slant catch. So to me, it looks like Matthew Golden is wide receiver 1, and that's kind of how I'm drafting him. I still think Jaden Reed's going to be very, very good for best ball purposes. He's not really a guy I want on my redraft team. If he's on my redraft team, I want him on my bench, not in my starting lineup. I think Matthew Golden leads the Packers in receptions this season and probably yards. And hey, we're back up to pick here. Got a lot of tight ends available here. I already grabbed George Kittle. Don't know if I need that. There's still quarterbacks here. These quarterbacks should not be on the board, guys. It's a super flex draft. You need 3. Why is Geno and Aaron Rodgers down here? That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just going to grab Jerome Ford, though, with one of my 2 picks here. And is there anybody else? Looks like Sampson got by Harris. We'll take fat Keenan Allen here. I do think Njoku could be easily a really good pick at tight end too, just based on volume alone. The same reason for Jerry Jeudy, where it's not going to be a sexy pick, but you're getting a guy that could easily catch 70 passes this season. Yeah, I mean, you were able to collect Herbert later, Harris. I think I'm fine with passing on Kyler Murray here. You needed Reed as your fourth receiver, your flex play. Him and Pittman can compete for flex duties. I think you made the right call with Jaden Reed. So I play in 2 dynasty leagues. One's a 10 team, one's a 12 team league. I don't think Austin Eckler was available, but I do think Eckler this season, I think he's still got something to prove, man. And last year, if you look at his numbers and if you watched Austin Eckler play, I didn't see any signs of slowing down. I think if anything, the injuries he's had the last few years have maybe prolonged his longevity here. So Austin Eckler, basically when I pick Austin Eckler, it's an insurance policy where, if I'm on a bye week and I need to whip out Austin Eckler and I need to get my 10, 12 points, I'm happy with it. And maybe, who knows, maybe he's just a guy that stays healthy every year and he's getting a ton of touches and he's just looking like a guy that can be your flex every week. Yeah, Golden's profile was very strange, but if you look deeper into his advanced metrics, like he was just amazing. And I think the number one thing with Matthew Golden, and specifically with the Packers struggle because their receivers don't get open quickly. Dontavian Wicks gets open quickly, but he's inconsistent as hell. And I think Golden has a chance to be the number one target right away and potentially be a guy that could just lead his team in pretty much everything. I'm going to take it. I don't know what I'm doing here. We're in round 15 here. We'll take Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a sleeper here. I need more wide receivers, though. I don't have anything at wide receiver. We'll take a chance here on who's the guy that's going to stick around here. I'll go with Leggett. I don't feel great about it. We're probably cutting these guys anyways. Chris Godwin. The reports lately have been better around Chris Godwin, but I'm still pretty skeptical that he's going to be even close to 100% this year for a guy to miss everything in the offseason, all the training camp, probably a PUP candidate. I think there's better picks at that range of the draft. Where did Godwin go tonight? Godwin here went at 8.9. I know David grabbed him. I mean, I'm taking pretty much every player after Godwin. I think when I'm open to Godwin is maybe if he's down here by the rookies, by some guys that we're not all too excited about. For me, Godwin's still a little overpriced. And same thing with, honestly, the Keenan Allen thing really fudged the Trey Harris upside. And I really haven't seen a lot of buzz on Trey Harris in camp the last few weeks. So to me, he might be a guy that shows some flashes this year, but we really need him to, one, show that he's better than Quentin Johnston, and two, for him to take and earn targets away from Keenan Allen. Because as long as Keenan Allen's out there, he's going to earn targets. So for me, maybe he's the number 2 target at some point this season, but it's very likely that he's at best the number 4 target for the Chargers. So he's just a deep bench stash. I think for me, he's more of a best baller. Huh. So I'm curious because David Njoku, man, he's in a contract year. I don't expect the Cleveland Browns to pay him, I think we're looking at maybe a new team next year for David Njoku. And I do think he is one of the more talented tight ends in the league. But he almost needs a healthy franchise to go to and to figure things out. Whereas with Tucker Kraft, the Packers, man, they're always going to mix other players in, which is going to be frustrating. If we look at the numbers last year, Tucker Kraft, tight end 10, he caught 50 passes on 70 targets. I do see these numbers, going up this season, which is going to be nice. I don't know if we're ever going to see top 5 numbers. If he ever eclipses 80, you look at these top 5 guys here, you need minimum 80 catches to break the top 5. So to me, I think Njoku's probably still the volume getter that Kraft is not. I think Kraft, for him to crash the top 5, he's more of a touchdown. You need to ride a hot touchdown guy. And who knows, maybe just, with the receivers kind of falling out, maybe it is just Kraft and Matthew Golden just being the offensive passing game. I could see that, but I think I'm going to lean slightly in Njoku still. No, Austin Eckler, Eckler is going to be the 2-minute back. He's going to be the third down back. He's going to get mixed in with carries. On a points per game basis last year, Austin Eckler, where are we? I mean, the box scores look pretty good, man. 10, 11 in a PPR for sure, but 10, 11, 13, 10, all in that kind of range here. It did kind of tail off towards the end of the year. He did miss some times, weeks 13 through 17. But for the most part, we're getting a guy that can be valuable, especially in the passing game. He didn't even catch a passing touchdown last year. So I think there's more room for him to grow. In a full PPR league, this might actually be the box score for Travion Henderson here, right? So I don't draft a lot of Evans or Terry right now. I am concerned about McLaurin because I think the touchdowns are guaranteed to regress. And that's really what catapulted him last year. I mean, he was wide receiver 10. He caught 13 touchdowns, but otherwise, the yards aren't great. They're fine. Over 1,000 were good. But he was insanely efficient too. I think there's a lot of numbers that could come down for Terry McLaurin. And the targets are not high at all. If you look at the other targets here for a top 12 receiver, he kind of sticks out as a guy that really overperformed. So to me, I think Terry, Mike Evans, these guys are all guys that could finish as top 20 wide receivers this year, but they're going to feel better as your wide receiver 3. I think I'm going to take the swing with Marvin Harrison Jr., man. And I know he was not great last year, wide receiver 30, but he had just as many targets as Terry. He had 8 touchdowns as a rookie. We know he's trusted in the red zone. And I don't know, man. I have a feeling the Cardinals coaching staff knows that, hey, we need to find more ways to get our best receiver the ball. They didn't even draft another receiver this year. They're running back the same pile of crap that they got. Marvin, Zay Jones, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, a bunch of junk. This team needs Marvin Harrison to ball out this year. I think I'm going to take the bet on Marvin taking a step forward this year and potentially finishing top 15. Whereas I'm a little concerned about Evans just getting up there in age. Like one of these years, man, he's got to miss. He's kind of the Derrick Henry of wide receivers, right? He just does it every year. But I am concerned. I mean, this is his lowest yards per catch in his career, lowest targets pretty much in a season of his career. I'm worried that it's starting to point down. And I do have a concern about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing offense. I like Egbuka a lot, but I think Baker threw 40 touchdowns last year. Those numbers are coming down, man. So Marvin, Terry, Evans. Whew. Mr. Magic, if we're drafting this weekend and we still don't have an answer on Rashee Rice, I think I'm fine with it. I think I'm fine with Rashee in the 5th and 6th round. If he does fall in best ball, I have been clicking on him because it's pretty much the cheapest price that he's been the entire best ball season. So I do like Rashee Rice if he's going to continue to not be suspended. We also have to factor in this thing with Rashee Rice is he's not going to come in this season and be the guy that we saw last year. He's just not. You have Xavier Worthy, who kind of blossomed and grew up last season. You also have a couple other guys that are in the mix, whether it's the rookie or a healthy Marquise Brown. There's a lot of other pieces here that I think weren't available when Rashee Rice was popping off. And where is my points per game here? Where is Mr. Rice? Rice, baby. Where is he? All right. So I don't think these numbers are realistic expectations. I think you're probably looking more at the first 2 weeks, maybe where he's 6 to 9 targets, 5 to 7 catches. Maybe he's at the top end of 18 points per game player, which would make him a wide receiver 1. Maybe that's the top end. But he's also coming back off a serious knee injury, which we have to discount players off that. I mean, if he was priced as Stephon Diggs, I'd be a lot happier with it. If he was round 6, round 7, I think I'd be all in on Rashee Rice. He's just at that point where I'm just like, I feel better about some other players that don't have suspension and ACL concerns right now. Whereas maybe Xavier Worthy is the receiver to own there. There's just a lot of moving pieces. Yeah, I don't think it's a 1-for-1 replacement for Derrick Henry. It's going to be a full-on committee. You're going to see, Keaton Mitchell probably lead the team in carries. You're going to see Justice Hill probably get a little bit more work than his regular 3rd down and 2-minute drill base work. You might even see Rasheen Ali or another running back get added to kind of fill that void. So for me, if I'm drafting one of these guys, I do think Keaton Mitchell is the one I'd rather have because he's going to get the biggest boost if Henry misses time. And we've seen Mitchell look really good in the preseason, man. If he continues to look good in the preseason, they might get to a point where they're like, hey, it's a long year, man. We got to keep the big dog fresh. We have to give Keaton Mitchell his 8 carries a game and kind of go from there. So, like, if you see a game on the schedule where the Ravens are favored to win by 14 points, maybe it's a Keaton Mitchell game. That's all. Yeah, it was a different tear, but I still really struggle to take a player coming off a knee injury when I know it's a guarantee that he's not going to be the player he was before he tore his knee. It's going to take him a full, 2026 Rashee Rice excites me. 2025 Rashee Rice, I have questions still. By all reports there, David, CMC looks as good as ever. And just, dude, they don't have healthy receivers right now. Ricky Pearsall's the healthiest guy, and he's missed a large chunk of camp in OTAs. Jawan Jennings is still not back. Brandon Ayuk, we got a bad report on Brandon Ayuk about him not being ready until maybe week 6. So I am pretty concerned that the receivers aren't going to be ready really to start the year, and you might just see CMC and George Kittle get all the touches in it. Like, if Kittle comes out and gets 10 targets, I'm not going to be surprised. I do think I'm into Ricky Pearsall right now, but McCaffrey, we're playing fantasy football. The number one rule at the Fantasy Fellowship is to have fun. I'm not going to tell you guys what to do. If you like Christian McCaffrey, yeah, his outcome is the best player in fantasy football. And yeah, if he plays 14, 15, 16 games, he's probably going to be a player and a pick that makes you look really, really smart for doing so. If he gets hurt, draft around it. Maybe you take McCaffrey and you go a little bit running back heavy to kind of buoy that, and you just nail your wide receiver picks. I think if you can afford a little bit of risk, usually people who risk things get rewarded. And sure, it could backfire, but if you want to have fun this year and McCaffrey falls into your pile of guys that you feel excited to take about and to watch this season, by all means, McCaffrey, dude, if it's, week 1 and McCaffrey's out there and he gets 18 carries for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns and catches 7 passes, and we're all like, fuck, like he's back, like that's totally realistic. I think I think the Chiefs are going to be a little bit annoying again. And if you guys remember last year, it was very frustrating because when Pacheco did go down, we're trying Carson Steele and Kareem Hunt and Samaje Perine, and they had this ugly, nasty rotation of 3 to 4 backs. And I think they're going to continue to do that. Now you have a rookie in Brashard Smith in there. I think it's going to be frustrating still, but I do expect Pacheco to be the lead guy because he's a full year removed from his pretty bad injury last year. So I do expect Pacheco to be the guy that you want. Kareem Hunt's just going to be that capable backup veteran. Maybe he's goal line short yardage. Maybe he's in there on some crucial third downs, things like that. He's probably not a guy, though, that you're going to need on fantasy redraft teams. They don't, but they still have George Kittle. You have a big body in Ricky Pearsall. But I do have some doubts about, like, what if teams just load up and they just focus on these other guys like Kittle and McCaffrey? They just play those two straight up and they make the other players beat them. The 49ers could struggle, but everything that I've seen out of 49ers camp, man, right now is CMC and George Kittle are as good as ever. And lately, the last 2 weeks, man, I've seen Ricky Pearsall. Like, Ricky Pearsall's been dusting dudes. He's been beating Pat Surtain. He's been doing a lot of things. I believe Jacob Cowing just got hurt, Lee. And it's literally every receiver on the 49ers roster is either hurt or they got a DUI or something stupid. This is how I think the top 5 redraft picks should go in terms. And I think we're back. I made it back, guys. The same thing happened last night where my internet cut out about an hour and 10 minutes into the show. So if it does cut out again, I'll say good evening, curtains, all that good stuff. I do want to finish this question here by David. So if you're still with me, thank you for hanging out and waiting. I don't know what the internet situation is because I still have internet, but it might be a StreamYard. I'm going Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think the debate starts at number 5. Justin Jefferson, I think that's the case. So we can go Saquon Barkley 5. I'll go McCaffrey 6, JJ 7. Yep. Yeah, I mean, if it comes to Kareem Hunt, things are bad. And yeah, CMC is. Yeah, I think late first CMC is probably worth the dice roll. I do think like CMC and Devon Achane have similar, risk profiles where it's Achane's small. He could get a lot of touches and a lot of volume and just kind of crumble. So for me, CMC, I really like getting my horses at receivers first round. And I like taking some of the chances at the other running backs later. He did get back. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. My internet sucks. So unfortunately, I have very good internet. I have I have the highest speed internet possible, but I'm above my garage right now, and behind me that door is like the Bermuda Triangle where like phone calls are dropped and like just in my part of the office. So I might have to like move my desk over the TV and figure out how to get closer to the connection. So it's something that we're going to figure out for sure. So last year I took Christian McCaffrey flex draft. And because I had CMC, I'm like, I'm going to go hero running back and we'll figure it out. And now I took last place and I got to wear a dress at my draft party. So maybe that's why I say continue to load up on running backs. I think maybe having 3 good running backs, McCaffrey, RB2, RB3 might be the way to go, and just finding my way at receiver. And yeah, that's I think my biggest advice is to stay balanced. And the best reason to stay balanced in your drafts is so that you have a chance at a top 5 player at every position. And then as the draft is coming to you, you can continue to take the best player that you feel fits. And it's not like, oh my God, I need a wide receiver too. I have to take Calvin Ridley here. It allows you to stay on track, on target, and all that good stuff. And yeah, we are definitely back. It's so weird though, because like the same thing, we were doing an auction draft last night, and about an hour and 10 minutes into the show, the same internet connection changed. And I'm hardwired in on this computer, which I thought was going to be better. But I unplugged it and then everything kind of rebooted. So I don't know what's going on. So for me, I think I don't know what to do with TreVeyon Henderson. I think if I draft TreVeyon Henderson as my RB2, I'm gonna want my Jaylen Warren. I'm gonna want my stable RB3 that I can trust, just in case it's not starting out as hot as I thought it was going to start. Dude, at the beginning of the summer, I was the biggest Puka Nacua guy because he dominated every advanced metric last year. Like Puka Nacua might be the best receiver in the league, but at this current state with Matthew Stafford's back, I don't know if we're going to see that. But all the advanced metrics back up Puka Nacua as maybe being the best receiver in the NFL. It's just we got to find a way to get him some cushion at QB here. So if I'm the 107 and I can't get, a falling Gibbs or whoever, I do think it's probably CMC. I think Genty might be frustrating to own his rookie year, kind of like Bijan was. I'm not sure. But I want to say thank you, everybody. It's Wednesday evening. I do have to get going here. We'll be back next Wednesday for sure. We're in the thick of it. So I appreciate Lee. Shout out Australia. Shout out Mr. Magic, Harris, Tony. Thank you guys for hanging out with me this evening. Look out for my players to avoid video. That's coming soon. And then I might sneak in one more live stream yet this weekend. So we'll stay tuned. Otherwise, I will recap the preseason game. So again, thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe and have a good night. Peace.